Hello and welcome to my video all about how to knit 2x2 ribbing, which is also known as double ribbing. This is an extremely popular stitch that's used in all kinds of knitting projects, including jumpers, socks and hats. The reason it's so popular is because it's stretchy and form-fitting, as well as being easy to knit. If you take a closer look at ribbing, you'll see that it's made up of 3D vertical stripes. I'll be referring to the raised stripes as knit stitch ridges and the sunken stripes as purl stitch valleys. These ridges and valleys create a kind of concertina effect, and that's what makes ribbing so elastic. In 2x2 ribbing, both the knit stitch ridges and the purl stitch valleys are 2 stitches across. I'll be using flat knitting in this demo, and I'll first be showing you how to knit ribbing symmetrically and then how to knit it asymmetrically. Okay, so in order to knit symmetrical ribbing, you first need to cast on a multiple of 4 stitches plus 2. In my case, I cast on 18 stitches. I used the long tail cast on, but you could use any method. For row 1, which represents the right side or the front of the knitting, you need to begin by knitting 2 stitches. Remember, when you knit stitches, the working yarn needs to be at the back behind the needles. Then bring the working yarn between the needles to the front and purl 2 stitches. And then just repeat this until the end of the row. So take the working yarn to the back and knit 2. Bring the working yarn between the needles to the front and purl 2, and so on. You should be finishing this row on knit 2. The reason this pattern creates symmetrical ribbing is that you begin and end each row with the same stitches. So when you're looking at the front of this ribbing, there will be a knit stitch ridge on the left hand side and on the right hand side. If you turn your work over and look at the stitches on your left hand needle, you'll see that some of them have little bumps of yarn, which are called purl bumps. You'll recognise the stitches with the purl bumps as purl stitches and those without as knit stitches. In order to create ribbing, all you're doing is knitting the knits and purling the purls. And this is handy to know because then you'll never get lost in a ribbing pattern, as long as you've got the first row correct. So if you see a purl bump on the left hand needle, you know that you need to purl that stitch. And if you don't, then you know you need to knit that stitch. So that's just a handy little tip to know. So for row 2, begin with 2 purl stitches. You can tell this because the first 2 stitches on the left hand needle have purl bumps on them, so you know you need to purl them. Then take the working yarn between the needles to the back and knit 2 stitches. And then just repeat this until the end of the row. So that's purl 2, knit 2, and so on. You should end this row with purl 2. And you just repeat these 2 rows again and again. And here is the result. This 2x2 ribbing is symmetrical, as well as being stretchy and reversible. You'll notice that there's a row of garter stitch at the top, and this is just a dividing line to mark where I've changed from 18 stitches on the needle to 16. That's because now I'm going to show you the pattern that you need to follow if you're going to make an unsymmetrical pattern. This is a very simple 1-row pattern repeat. And before you begin, you need to make sure you've got a multiple of 4 stitches on your needle. You then begin the row by knitting 2 stitches. Then bring the yarn to the front and purl 2. And just repeat those 4 stitches until the end of the row. So that's knit 2, purl 2, and so on. And it's as simple as that. This row will end with 2 purl stitches, which means it ends with different stitches to what it began with, and that's what makes it asymmetrical. And that's it. That's how you knit 2x2 ribbing. I really hope that's been helpful, and thank you very much for watching.